Hello, everybody. Welcome to Living Through the Soul. Today, I have some topics that I really want to touch on, some knowledge that I have that has just really helped me and my clients. And so, I really want to use this platform, yes, to talk about just like my journey and ramble and vlog almost, but I also want to use this platform to share free resources on knowledge that has helped me in with the intention that it will spark something in you. So today we are going to talk about the power of choice, the power of intention, the power of boredom, and the power of making decisions from the heart versus the ego. The power, babe. The power. And I kind of said that in like kind of a weird order. I would probably do the power of. Anyways, let's just get into it. So, let's start with the power of choice because you have to choose to live from the heart. You have to choose to set an intention. You have to choose alchemizing boredom into ambition. Okay, so the power of choice directly affects all aspects of your life. Literally all aspects of your life. And I'm going to choose to take a deep breath right now because I feel my mind like I get excited about this stuff and I feel it like I just want to ground, even though I did this before I started. We're going to do it together, okay? So if you are not driving, if you are in a space where you can just like tune in with me into your breath, and if you are driving, just keep your eyes open and you can breathe while you drive. Release your current breath. We're just going to take a loving, heart-centered breath into your nose. Hold at the top. And release through the mouth. And we're going to repeat that once more without the hold and just a deep breath in through the nose and a deep breath out through the mouth. Wow, y'all. Breath just like, once you consciously breathe, you just like come back to your center. Okay. The power of choice. Your choices will get you. Your choices. That's the momentum of like where you're at right now. Is through choice. And I think people really fall victim to life's challenge, life's uncontrollable aspects, which, here, I'm not here to shame you. I see you 100%. You know, it's difficult to make a new choice when you have such deep paved neuro pathways in your mind, okay? And these neuro pathways, like, that's what holds like your habits and your decisions and your patterns, and it's your ego like finds so much comfort in these like cozy little paths that you created, and you know, it's just so comfortable to go back onto this path, and it's the power of choice that is literally rewiring your neural pathways. You know, every time you choose to make a different decision, every time you choose to create and start integrating a new habit, a new way of thinking, all of that is choice, and that is what creates a new neural pathway, which then becomes your default pathway. And you know, this just, it really goes so deep because it's so easy to get wrapped up in this, the challenge, and getting wrapped up in the uncontrollable, you know, and that's really for me where my faith comes in, where it's like, I don't quite understand this, you know, like I don't really get this. This is definitely not something I can control. This brings me anxiety. And that's where I'm like, God, source, creator, like I give this up to you. I give the uncontrollable up to you, and I take back my power of choice. I take back my power of making a new decision. And that's all what life is. If you don't like what you're doing, if you don't like the way your life is going, make a new choice, make a new decision. And it's simple. It's simple. Don't get me wrong. It's like a lot of this stuff is simple, but it's uncomfortable. Okay, because when you make a new choice, you're creating a new neural pathway. Your ego and your mind are like, "Whoa, this is new. This is uncomfortable. I need to retreat. I need to go back to comfort. Like where's the joint? Where's the wine? Where's the sex? Where's the partner? Where's the friends? And there's like smoking a joint is not bad. Okay, hanging out with your friends obviously not bad. But it comes back to your intention. Okay? Becoming the observer. Once you become the observer, you really see where you're making your decisions from, your choices from. Okay? Intention is what activates your life. And when you start becoming the observer of the choices that you are already making, you start bringing the unconscious to the conscious. Okay, you start really understanding, oh wow, I'm making this choice based off of me not wanting to deal with my own shit, me not wanting to really hold myself within this, whatever it is for you. Like how can you become the observer of your choices so that you see where your subconscious intention is lying? And once you start becoming the observer of the subconscious intention, where you're really making choices from, then that's the power of choice, making a new decision, implementing a new higher intention. And this is just like I said, intention really activates, like fully. Okay, and I'm using the example that just popped through my head is cannabis. I love cannabis, okay? I have definitely fallen victim to my subconscious comforts when it comes to cannabis, where I've like totally just swung the penge, like I'm uncomfortable. Like that was a huge coping mechanism growing up, like sorry, I'm opening my water bottle for those who are not watching. I feel like this podcast might make more sense if you watch, but to each their own. Okay. I hope you guys can't really hear like the glugs and the like lip smacking. I'm like not a huge fan of ASMR at all when it comes to that. So, anyways, I rambled. What was I talking about? Yeah, the power of choice, the power of intention. And my cannabis journey. Yes, here we go. Resume. So, yeah, I've definitely have used cannabis in a very unconscious way for a lot of my life. And I had this experience where I was like, okay, I have awareness of this. I have awareness of where I actually sat with an indigenous medicine called Kambo. And in that experience, I got really clear because it clears you out, girl. It clears you out. And I got very clear on what was holding me back from really like becoming the best version of myself, and what was holding me back in these lingering patterns and habits and beliefs. And it was this unconscious use of cannabis. I'd wake up, smoke. Like there's just no intention behind it. When you live a life without conscious intention, you are literally just living a life from the unconscious, from the subconscious, from these like protection mechanism habits, patterns that are not serving your highest good. they're just there because that's what was built to create safety within your system, which so adorable. Love, like, I love you body, I love you mind, I love myself, and I'm so grateful for these protection mechanisms that my body has created, that my mind has created so that I can operate in this world. Like, clearly they were useful at a time in my life, but now that I have the awareness, I'm like, this is not serving me. I need to now move through the discomfort of making a new choice. So with this whole cannabis situation, I'm just like a kind of intense person sometimes, and so I was like, I'm cutting cold. I'm like, this is like years of being a stoner. I'm cutting cold turkey, like blah 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 blah. And for some people that works. For me, it did not. And so I started doing research and learning really about the sacred medicine of cannabis. Okay, the spirit of cannabis. What cannabis is helpful for, because it's not the cannabis that is the issue. It was the user behind it. It was the lack of intention, the lack of consciousness using this medicine, using this plant. And yeah, so basically I found this guy on Instagram, Ryan Sprague. Ooh, I hope I didn't say his last name wrong. I'll tag him in the is it called the show notes? I'll tag him in the show notes. I don't know why that sounds so like I'll tag him in the show notes. He definitely helped me so much. His content helped me so much. And I'm still interested in the future of taking one of his programs, because it's definitely a topic that I feel very passionate to lead people through, but I need to I want to be led through some other stuff before I do that. Long story short, his content helped me so much in creating just like this awareness and this consciousness around it, and then two, creating a intentional plan for myself to honor the plant, excuse me, honor the plant and also honor myself. And so after I sat with this medicine combo, I couldn't smoke before or after for a while. And so the first time I sat with cannabis again, or smoked, and I did this. So I just love him because he's like, treat this medicine as a ceremony, and like, it doesn't need to be like this deep, intense ceremony all the time. Like, for my first time smoking and after I sat with combo, I 100% was like I was like, I want to meet the spirit. I want to meet the spirit of this plant, and I want to commune with her. I want to connect with her. And so I did that. But what he really shared too is like, ceremony could be with friends, with the intention to connect and to laugh. And cannabis is such a connection plant. And so I made the choice, kind of like feeding all these things that we're talking about into the story. I made the choice to make a different decision with how I treat and respect the plant, and it changed my life. I had like integration days. I would smoke. I wouldn't smoke for 4 days in a row. And when I would smoke, if I felt the call to, I would smoke like those 3 days that I strategically set up like 4 days off, 3 days on if I chose. And it was life-changing. It was literally life-changing. It was so intentional. I felt so good. And yeah, I was really making that intention behind what I'm doing. And so when you bring your awareness to your subconscious intentions behind the actions that you are making, you're opening up your subconscious mind, and you're bringing awareness to the things that are running your life. Our subconscious mind makes up 95% of our decision making. 95% of our decision making, our action, like, that's from an unconscious place, something that you're not even aware of. And it's like our responsibility to go into that hardware and to update it, to understand it, to rewire it, to code it. And one of the major like intentions, subconscious intentions, shadow intentions that I was falling victim to, which is one of the topics that I want to talk about, is the power of boredom. Or boredom. I'm talking about the power of boredom. And, I was really like tuning into like, okay, I have the urge to smoke right now. Why? Like, why? Oh, I'm bored. all of that wasted fucking potential and creative energy that I was just going into, like, I was just using something to suppress this boredom, which boredom is literally like a secret sauce of creation, of inspiration. It comes from boredom. And so I was like literally like suppressing all of this like creative energy, this ambition, and just channeling it in ways that like wasn't fully getting it out. It was suppressing it. And so one, and cannabis can be incredibly helpful for create or just like for creation, you know, but it comes to the intention behind it and not having a reliance on the substances, anything external. And so yeah, I realized that boredom was a main factor of me wanting to consume. And I think that's a main factor for a lot of substances and a lot of people who, you know, struggle with just like using substances to suppress, to create like safety. And like for me, cannabis was so cozy. I think it's because I grew up smoking. Like it's so cozy. I'm like, I just want to like smoke a joint, you know, and like that comfort is, it was not serving me because I wasn't growing. I'm gonna take another gulp of my water. Hang on. Oh my god, it's just splashed up on me. I'm seeing a horse healer today. Super excited about it. I've never healed with the horses, but my mom is obsessed with horses, and I'm super excited because honestly, I don't know why I had like reservations against horses growing up, but I'm obsessed with them now. And the other day I was, side tangent. The other day I was actually picking up my friends, and I picked them up on like this. They were walking, so I picked them up on the side of the road, and there was like this little like farm, and they had horses, and this horse ran up to me and was like so majestic, and he was like, okay, if you're listening to this, this is definitely a visual story because I'm like acting it out right now. And the horse came up to me and was like, and like was like looking at me, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna feel this energy out. I like stuck my hand out, and he like nudged for my hand and started like placing his head on my hand. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really being I'm really being called to connect with horses. And then my mom has always been obsessed with horses, and there's this horse healing center here, and I'm like, we definitely need to go do that. So we're gonna go get an energy healing chakra reset 3-hour experience with the horses today. I'm really stoked about it. Okay, back to the topic of choice, intention, boredom. And I'm really excited to get to the next part, which is making decisions from the heart. So, anyways, boredom. Yeah, boredom is such creative energy. It's like, how can we alchemize boredom into ambition? You know, like, oh, I recognize I'm bored. How can I create from this energy? How can I nurture myself through this energy? Instead of these just habits and patterns that like are not serving your goals or your higher self. So the power of intention just like moves mountains. It's literally changed my life once I've started bringing awareness to one, my subconscious shadow intentions, and replacing them with higher self intentions and intentions that are amplifying my goals, not taking away from the life that I'm creating. And again, it's all a choice. You know, we get to make a choice, and your choices are either going to lead you down living a very unfulfilling, sad, bored, bored in the sense of like you're not actually alchemizing the boredom, you're just like stuck in this stagnant energy. It's like you can use your choice to create that life for yourself, which is possible. You know, everything, we live in a world with infinite possibilities. Like, yeah, if you want to live a life like that, make that choice. Okay, but if you want to live a life that is so fucking soul fulfilling, where you're living through your soul, you get to make the choices that will aid you to that process, that will lead you to that state of being. And it really starts with choosing to set intention with your life. With your life. Okay, and this goes into so many aspects of life, and I feel like I'm gonna hit the last topic now, but if anyone is wanting more information on the power of choice, the power of intention, the power of boredom, like let me know in the comments and I can expand on this. But the last thing I want to talk about is making decisions from the heart versus the ego. And so like when we're constantly making these like logical, rational, like mind-centered decisions, it's just like it's very heady, it's not grounded. And often, like, I'm not saying that rationalizing and like being logical is bad by any means, but it has a place. Okay, and I promise you I did not get to where I'm at right now using logic. I mean, in some aspects of my life, 100%. But I took the courage and the choice to live from my heart, live from my soul. Okay, and oftentimes God in the heart, like they ask you to make decisions that aren't logical, but it's like this inner knowing, this inner like, this is where my heart is guiding me. This is where God is guiding me. And I know that there's a plan much bigger than myself. And I have faith in that. And I'm creating that trust within that. And I'm going to listen to my intuition and to my heart, to my center. And it's so important making decisions from this place, because then that's really what leads you to living a heart-centered life. Energetically speaking, I don't know if you're familiar with the chakras, people listening to this. But our root chakra, that's like grounds us into earth. I'm doing like a really slight explanation on these right now. Our sacral chakra holds, that's like right above, that's like your womb area if you're a woman. So the root chakra is like you're at the end of the tailbone. I'm doing like on a woman's biological body referencing. So bottom of the tailbone, sacral on your womb, which is your creativity, your sexuality, creation energy, and then your solar plexus right between your rib cage is your sense of self, confidence, power. Okay, those things create your like ID, your personality. Okay, it's like ego living. It's 3D living. So if we're living in these three chakras, you're living from the ego. Okay, it's when we connect our lower chakras into our heart spaces where we transcend to 4D living, heart-led living. And when we're making our decisions from our heart, this actually is nurturing your ego, because our ego is not something that we need to like. I really don't like when people are like, kill the ego, death to the ego. Okay, I understand where you're coming from 100%, but that's not the energy I want to have with the portion of myself that is just inevitably going to be there my entire life. Okay? Like, I don't want to like hate my ego. I don't want to like, now I do want to nurture my ego. Okay, I want to teach my ego. I don't want to have my ego lead me. I want to nurture and teach my ego. Okay, because your ego is just following what is comfortable. So once you start like rewiring your mind and stuff, and this is obviously this never ending like evolution of like it's a never ending evolution of this process of like evolving and like like every chapter that we're in, we're going to like recognize new ways that we're in our ego, and we're just going to nurture it and live from our heart and alchemize and move on. That's like a never ending process. But it's like when you live from your heart, you're nurturing your ego, you're showing your ego how you can actually live, where it can actually find safety in. You get to teach your ego like, wow, we get to find safety within making decisions from our heart. And then when you start making decisions from fear, it becomes so much more evident. And our ego loves to attach to things that are a familiar hell rather than an unfamiliar heaven. So when you're in the process of like making a new decision, it's going to feel uncomfortable because it's new. Okay, but it's when we're really like making that a habit and a pattern, then it becomes a new neural pathway. It becomes a new sense of safety within your system. Um, and yeah, I mean, ego deaths are a real thing. I'm not saying ego deaths are not real. Ego deaths are fucking real. I've been going through the most massive ego death I've ever been through this month, actually. Like, just bringing so much awareness to, like, oh, wow. Like, I'm still running on that unconscious pattern that is really deeply rooted. And it's like, yeah. And so I'm going through all this awarenesses I'm going through all this awareness that is bringing death to these aspects of myself that are not serving so that I can alchemize them into a higher state of living and being. Um, yeah. So I think that's really everything I wanted to talk about today. Um, Living from your heart, the power of making a choice, the power of intention, the power of boredom, rewiring your mind, connecting your mind to your heart, because our minds, I think there's also another like stigma that like our minds are like there's so many extremes. Like my arm is like falling asleep. There's so many extremes. I'm absolutely freezing. Turning up the air temperature. What was I saying? Oh yeah, there's so many extremes, like kill the ego, the mind, kill the mind, like all like okay. We're whole. This is what we got. We got our mind. I call it the sacred mind because it is our processing center. We need our mind. We love our mind. And so it's not like being so harsh and like on yourself and these aspects of self. It's just like how can we like nurture every aspect and how can we connect our sacred mind to our heart? How can we connect our mind to our heart so then it's processing from this foundation of love, and not fear. And we get to nurture our ego from this foundation that you're building of heart-centered living, this foundation of love. And so, yeah, I'm going to end that there. I'm super grateful for everyone who's tuning in right now. I'm super curious on how this is landing for y'all. So drop a comment in the comment section, please. If this resonated with you, maybe send it to a friend. Hit like, leave some stars if you will, yeah. And just a reflection question for you to take with you today is like, how can you really take your power back around the choices you're making, the intentions you're coming from? How can you implement new intentions? Like when you're bored, how can you really use this boredom and alchemize it into ambition? And how can you live from the heart, make decisions from this space of love, from this space of just like when I think of the heart and making a decision from the heart, I just feel this like rock solid foundation of groundedness, of just making like a God guided decision. And so how can you implement more of that in your life? Yeah, if you have any questions, DM me, shoot me a message. I'm so grateful for everyone and I'm stoked to be here. Peace.